Hi and welcome to Jonathan King 13. I think we last met when I was just having a hit by accident of Everyone's Gone to the Moon. Well, I was very keen to immediately produce a hit myself. I had put Gotta Tell by Terry Ward out on Fontana, which was basically a flop, and it wasn't really a very great record. That was my first production, but I really wanted to have a hit production. And I'd written this song called It's Good News Week, which I knew was a hit, and I took to Decca and everyone else, and they said, this is a smash, it must be your follow-up to Everyone's Gone to the Moon. I said, no, I want to record this fresh and new, please, as a producer. And I was up at Cambridge, and the place called the Corn Exchange there was echoing to the sound of a group performing. So I went in and bought my ticket. There were about 3 or 4 people in the Corn Exchange, and this little group standing on stage playing. And I thought the lead singer had a very good little voice. So afterwards, when they finished, I said to them, would you like to be on a record? Well, of course, they were over the moon. And I said, the one thing is you're going to have to change your name. They were called the Hedgehoppers. They were all in the RAF, and they were based in Peterborough and flying aeroplanes. And Hedgehoppers is something to do with aeroplanes, I believe. They said, oh, we can't change our name. We're very big in Peterborough. So I said, well, OK, in that case, I'm going to call you Hedgehoppers Anonymous. So you keep your name, but you have another word added. And they thought that was fine. So that's what they did. And I brought them down to London, discovered they couldn't play very well, so I didn't actually use them on the record. I put session musicians on the record, taught the lead singer, a guy called Mick Tinsley, how to sing it in the way I'd sung it, It's Good News Week, and recorded it, added some strings and brass and various things, and it came out and was again a huge hit. Went straight into the top 5, was a hit all over the world. Funnily enough, in America it got banned in 40 out of 50 states because they thought the words were possibly subversive, but in the 10 states it did get played in, it was a big hit. So there I was. I'd managed to produce my first hit as well as sing my first hit. I wrote both of the songs, so I regarded it as a triumph for me as a songwriter. I was very happy. I was already becoming an established star. Before Everyone's Gone to the Moon, funnily enough, I'd made a lot of contacts through Gotta Tell and met all sorts of people. I remember PJ Proby, brilliant American singer. There's a place for us, somewhere a place for us. And he invited me to a party in his little house near the Chelsea Pensioners, just off the King's Road, at which was the delightful and wonderful, blousy and very mumsy Diana Dawes, who had sort of ceased to be a sylph-like sex symbol. She was a big actress in the 50s in England, but by this time, in the middle 60s, she was a little bit past it as a sex symbol, but a terribly nice lady. And we became very good friends and remained so until she died, actually. But other people I was contacting, people in television and in radio and so on, and they were all quite excited to see my success. Meanwhile, of course, I'd gone back up to Cambridge, where there was a new master at Trinity College, R.A. Butler, who had been, I think, Home Secretary in the Conservatives, certainly a contender for Prime Minister during the, I think, after Macmillan Conservative government, but then had given up politics and had actually become Master of Trinity College, Cambridge. As it happens, when I met him, he was a very nice man and we got on terribly well. But of course my return to Cambridge was in triumph, because all this success had happened in between my first year at Cambridge and starting my second year in the summer break. Basically, I'd had Everyone's Gone to the Moon out, it became a huge hit. I had It's Good News Week made as produced, and it went on to be a huge hit. I was having success in America, where publications like Billboard and Cashbox and Variety had tipped me as a record that was going to be a big hit, and it was on its way up the American charts already. I was getting requests to go over to America. I was offered a tour as second on the bill to Gene Pitney, who was one of my great idols. I thought my 3 great idols as singer were Buddy Holly, Roy Orbison and Gene Pitney. And I loved the idea of touring Britain on a 60-date tour, second on the bill to Gene Pitney. And I thought to myself, that's £60,000. But it would have happened in term time, and I wanted to continue with my studies because I loved English literature. So I turned down the opportunity of being on tour all over Britain and went back to Cambridge and went on studying. And this in itself was a fairly remarkable thing, because most people would have assumed they would have gone on with their pop career. But I knew I wasn't a great singer. I was an absolutely useless performer, as you may have noticed on these little video clips. And I thought to myself, why try and be something you're not? I wanted to be a writer and a producer, have a bit of fun as a singer. I wanted to travel around the world. I wanted to do different bits and pieces. And nowhere in my mind was the fact that I would become a great performer. And I remember years later when I had dinner once with Elton John, an old friend who I'd used on sessions back in the 60s. And in the 80s I had dinner with him once after having seen him do a brilliant concert in Texas, in Dallas, I think. And it was just the two of us, and I said to him, fantastic concert, Elton, but I don't know, how can you go on night after night singing the same songs, doing the same thing? It would drive me out of my mind. And Elton said, I've got to be honest, Jonathan, it's the one thing I love. I'm bored with writing, I'm bored with singing, I don't get any kick out of any of the other things, writing records, making records. All I really love doing is performing. I live for those 2 hours on stage. So different strokes for different folks.